Hey, welcome back. We are glad that you've chosen to take time out of your day to listen to us, watch us, wherever you happen to be grabbing this podcast. It is a new year as we are filming this, and we are excited about the new year. As we are entering in the new year, we've been going through some old stuff, like old notes and stuff, right? Looking through just memories, and it's been kind of fun to looking through watching a happy birthday video the other day where one son was not happy that we're singing happy birthday to the other son until he was reminded to be happy, and all of a sudden, boom, happy. It is fun to kind of go through memories, but as we've been going through those memories, a couple of things we've been digging up are old notes from old conferences or that kind of thing that we've been to. And the notes from today actually come from a marriage seminar that we went to years ago. We believe in going to those kind of things. You never can have a good enough marriage, right? You never stop growing, you never stop learning. And these notes were pretty applicable, we felt like, not just to marriage, that's what we got them from, but to life in general. And so today we're going to be talking about, and over the next several podcasts, we're going to talk about conflict resolution.
Yep, we did. We found some inspiration looking back at old notes. Sometimes I think you got to slow down so that you can speed up. And sometimes the slowing down process is just looking for inspiration. And yes, we found these notes on conflict resolution and felt like they're just incredibly applicable and practical information that we thought and hoped would help you. It's 2022, and we desire to live life with great purpose. And I want us to set goals, accomplish goals in 2022. I want us to look back and know that we grew and overcame obstacles. And I want us to have better relationships. Life, the quality of life is determined by the quality of your relationships. And that's why a topic like conflict resolution is applicable to every single one of us.
Absolutely.
We were sitting in our staff meeting yesterday, and our staff was witnessing a nice argument between Fitz and I over something stupid. We both knew the argument was stupid, but for whatever reason, we were sticking to our guns. I think we were entertaining them.
The staff's been around a long time. They've seen us do that before. That's not new.
Well, and the problem, that wasn't actually real conflict, because the real conflict, it's destructive. That's the problem. Well, let me say that. That's not really true. Conflict is meant to be constructive. Every relationship in your life is going to face conflict. And that conflict is meant to build bridges, make the relationship stronger. But for most of us, we tend to find that it turns out to be destructive because we mishandle conflict. So we want to talk today with you. Actually, we're going to start a series. We like these series because we want to keep these short for you. So we're going to do 3 podcasts on conflict resolution. As we get started we're going to just really cover one point today. But I want to tell you about communication, that I think that communication is very difficult. And I think we assume as we communicate that we are being understood, and we feel offended when we're not understood. And I think we will grow in our relationships if we will, instead of assuming that we're understood, we assume that we're misunderstood more often than we are understood. I don't know if that makes sense to any of you, but like right now, I'm trying to communicate. Lord have mercy if any of you understand what I'm saying. But even when I'm communicating with my husband, so often, maybe with the craziness of a dog and 3 kids, and I'm trying to explain what's going to be happening over the next hour, and he doesn't really understand me, and we have to clarify in that moment a couple times to get to a place that we both understand what's about to happen in the next hour. Well, years ago, that might create an argument between the two of us. But now we've gotten to the point that we understand sometimes it takes 2 to 3 rounds to get right what's about to happen in the next hour in our busy lives as the big family. And because we've gotten to the point that we assume we're being misunderstood instead of assuming we are being understood. And I do feel like that's helped us grow a lot in our ability just to handle everyday conflict. When we recognize how hard communication at its just basic form really, really is.
Yep.
So,
my turn to communicate.
Yes. Apparently, we didn't communicate well before this.
So, I mean,
let's talk about our first tip for conflict resolution.
All right, we can edit that part out.
We don't have to.
First tip for conflict resolution. Let's like, anytime I hear a speaker or a teacher say something, I just immediately assume that guy's got it all together. Or that lady, they've got it all figured. They're teaching as a couple. They've got it all figured out. And I just want to say, as we're teaching on conflict resolution, we just were arguing yesterday in a staff meeting, for goodness sakes. And that wasn't a real argument, but at the same time, we both dug in our heels and we weren't letting it go. And so really, as we're teaching our tips on conflict resolution, these are applicable to our life every day. Don't think that we don't have conflict. We're married. Mm-hmm. So the first point in resolving conflict, and I'd say even the pre-point is just go ahead and be okay with conflict being a good thing. Conflict is not a bad thing. You were saying that it's a good thing. It's how we grow is through conflict oftentimes. So number one point to conflict resolution is allow the other person to complain. I feel like in the last couple of years, it's certainly a feeling in me, but I think it's pretty well fact. Everybody agree with this. In the last couple of years, there's just been a lot of conflict in our nation, right? And in the world, but in our nation specifically, and just over everything, right? It's should you get the vaccine? Should you not get the vaccine? And there's people really vehement about both on either side. Is COVID a real thing or not a real thing? Are we blowing it out of proportion? Or are we not blowing it out of proportion? Beyond the pandemic, it's the racial issues over the last couple of years have been really dynamic and re-emerging more so than I remember in my lifetime. And it's that's something. There's just all kinds of people are in business together and they're in conflict. People are in marriages together, they're in conflict. It's just a lot of turmoil, it feels like, in the world today. And I think in the last couple of years, one of the things that we've really just honed in on with friends who who may not agree with other things that we say is that the people with opposing views, maybe as you, just want to be heard. So point one is allow the other person to complain. Just give them that space to open up and to speak, and don't be defensive. Don't cut it. Don't shut them down, and don't say things that are going to keep them from feeling comfortable about voicing the conflict. Oftentimes people have to really dig up some bravery just to even be able to speak of the conflict that they're feeling. You may not even know that there's conflict going on, but it's just all up inside of them. And if you don't let them let it out, it's never going to get resolved. And that's not a positive thing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's 4 other points that we're going to eventually cover, but I honestly think this one point could radically change your life. Because most of us do not realize how hard and how little we allow the other person to complain. All of us, I think, are born with a tendency to either be conflict avoidant or conflict inducing. So, and we do that on either side because we're afraid of what the other person is going to say. So that's our that's our defense mechanism. Is we either shut them down and don't allow them to talk, or we avoid it as much as we can, never asking like what's wrong, or staying out of any scenario that might cause that person to actually tell you how they feel. Or we just quickly attack them and tear them down, not giving them the right or the access to share how they feel. And I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. It's hard to hear how someone else feels, but this goes back to the point I was making is usually it's hard because we're assuming that people understand us. And we're so baffled when anybody might think we have an impure motive or we did something to hurt someone else's feelings. Like, what? How dare you not understand that I would never hurt your feelings? However, we're all walking around wounded by what someone else said or did, probably today, that we just simply probably misunderstood. But if we could get better at just allowing that other person to explain themselves, to complain about how they're feeling, we might find that that would be the first tool to us being able to resolve the conflict, because we're actually waiting and trying to understand what the other person is saying before shutting them down.
Yeah, that's good. So we've got more coming. Future podcast. This is point 1 of conflict resolution. Allow the other person to complain. Give them that space. And hey, now that you know, you know.